Okay, welcome to my video on how we took my 76 VW Kombi from looking like this to this. Yeah, so initially it was the 76 T2 bay window Kombi, air-cooled, 2 litre, all original, still mostly original paint except for on the front. It was a bit lacking power, so we tried a carby upgrade, didn't make much difference. We went electronic ignition, a few other things, but we just wanted something with a bit more power. As you can see, we like to go camping and stuff, and it was all right to drive as a daily. I had it for years, put a smile on my face, but in summer it was very hot inside the car because we live in Queensland, so aircon was good, and we wanted a reliable daily, so we went Subaru in the end. This is where we first started just getting it lifted slightly. Now, we did not do anything special. This is just the rear end being raised with the torsion bars to a fairly safe level. That's the original wheels and tyres. And the front was already sitting fairly high, which is good. It hadn't sagged. It was not much done to the front end, actually. We just had the back end lifted a bit. And then you can see it's quite a bit higher even with the standard wheels. We then also upgraded to some bigger wheels and tyres, so we didn't want to go crazy. Oh, we also fitted sliding glass windows on all around the back. Made a massive difference to how cool it was inside that car when you drove. Just crack one of those back windows open and it was fantastic. Now, this is with Mercedes-Benz Vito rims, 15-inch ones. There's different offsets, so make sure you get the right offset. The ones that are too deep dish you don't want. We ended up with 3 of each, so we've got all new tyres. The tyres are 215 75 15 Nankang all-terrains. As you can see, they're substantially bigger but not crazy, and your speedos goes about 5k an hour out, but if you get those ones that are too deep dish, as you turn on the front, they rub ever so slightly, only on full lock. No, otherwise no other rubbing. It gives you a lot of lift, as you can see. I'd probably go a 205 75 15 next time. But you can see with the combination of stock suspension just set high and those tyres gives it better lift than my mate's Hilux sitting there. Also, we put the rooftop tent on and set it up in a way so it folds out over the side door to give us like a canopy for when we go camping. There's a pain in the backside, obviously, to put on and off, so we just made a little pulley system. It's very heavy, and the Kombi sits something like 2.5 meters high with it on, so lucky we got a high carport there. But the end result is, you know, with an awning on one side, rooftop tent on the other, it's fantastic. We got the bed in the back, so we can take 4 people away, and we've got 4 sleeping spots. And you'll see here that we've got the rooftop tent opens up, and there's also an awning that comes around it, so it gives you really good protection. You can have things inside the sliding door area and it doesn't get wet, and as you can see, they can walk straight through. So then we started doing some noise deadening on the car. You know, Kombi's very loud. This is just some cheap stuff of, I don't know what it was, eBay or something, but it seems to do the job. It made a big difference. Now, you don't have to cover your entire car with that. You just have to cover about 1/3 of the panel to stop the resonation. Interior, I just made up from its very cheap options. I'm a tight ass. I don't like wasting money, and I don't need a show car. This is my car, so you do what you want with it. So I just did this with some very thin 3mm board from Bunnings, trimmed it up to fit. Even did on the roof and some of the other doors. I haven't finished the roof yet. Yeah, there's fancier interiors, but as you'll see from this whole build, I am more about function over appearance. You can see some of the sound deadening in the roof there, and it makes a massive difference when you tap on that. Without it, it really rattles, and when it's on there, it just deadens the sound. Makes a big difference. So as you can see, the whole roof will look like that eventually when I can get to it. got sidetracked with doing this Subaru conversion. So as we go along, so we're just doing all the pictures at the moment. There are some videos that come up, but yeah, this is just a slideshow to show where we went from and where we ended up. So that's the donor car, which was a 2007 Subaru Liberty. You can see got a bit of damage there. I bought that for $700 and it still drove. Automatic EJ20 double overhead cam. Air conditioning, everything still worked in it. So had a week's rego left. The guy crashed that front section and I bought it for $700. Had about 250,000 Ks on the clock, which is not much for these cars. That's the automatic. That is a 4EAT automatic transmission, which is the one you need if you're going to do the Subaru conversion to automatic. So basically I removed everything. Get a donor car, don't buy parts here and there willy-nilly, and strip everything out of it. Like as you'll see, we took the ECU, all the wiring, the throttle, because it's fly-by-wire, so the accelerator pedal, just everything. Don't throw anything out, just strip the shell. And even when you've got the shell, it's handy to hold onto it for a little while in case there's nuts and bolts and stuff you need. I moved mine on and then accidentally realised I didn't collect the ignition barrel, which I needed. So I had to go back to the place and get it out that I gave the car to, the shell to. So yeah, so that, make sure you get everything out. That's the box full of parts. I took the shifter, the factory shifter. I ended up building a little box for that to sit in. That's the ignition barrel. That was the thing I almost lost and didn't have, which you need when you do the wiring. The wiring is a nightmare. If you can do it yourself, go for it. If not, I use AGT Engineering at Newcastle. I think he's Andrew, fantastic. Did a great job. Send it to him. Did it all. It costs you a bit, but you get it back. Plug in. Get all the modules. One of those is airbag, I think, but the other two, you know, you've got to make sure you get your body control module as well as your ECU. So the process I did, obviously I stripped it, got it all ready, and then I started removing the original running gear from old Lucky. We call him Lucky, the Kombi. It was in great nick. We sold that on, and as you know, air-cooled engines and gearboxes, especially a 2-litre gearbox, fetch silly money, so that helped fund some of this conversion. That's just me mapping out something at the front there, because I wanted to have a front mount intercooler radiator. Came across this bull bar for a couple $100. Thought I could make that work. It was off a Kombi, just painted it white. Had to trim that middle bar out at the top, and the radiator and that I got was just all off eBay stuff. This is out of I think a 1970s or 80s Corolla, and it was just a thick triple core, all aluminium, fit in there really nicely. That's the original air conditioning condenser, which I have since replaced because the eBay crappy ones didn't work. It was not enough fins and rows. Those generic ones just couldn't cut it once it hit about 36 degrees. So I've now switched to a Daihatsu Terios one. And this is just me making up a cover. I made up a fake wheel at the front. So that was just some tin metal, a few slots in it to bend it, and some of that mesh, that hard mesh, to make sure it doesn't get stone chips. Painted it all black, fitted it, realised you can see too much through it. You can see right through. It looked a bit weird. You know, when you have a spare tyre there, it's all black. So I ended up just cutting a couple bits of timber, top and bottom, and sit them in there to block a lot of that out, just to make it look more like the spare tyre. The little bits on the side you hardly see. This is the shifter mechanism. Using the factory shifter was good. I used a 12-foot speedboat cable off eBay to connect it. It was quite cheap, well less than $100 I believe, like maybe $50 or something. I just made up a little wooden center console. I left a nice big box there behind it so I can put milk and bread and things in. We've put a cup holder on the front even. It's fantastic. It sits in a great spot, easy to use. It's the sport shift auto, so you can change it up and down gears. Everything works. That's the shifter cable I bought on the right. Very similar. I had to cut and weld. Okay, quick update here, because I've come to realise that there is not that much info out there on doing the Subaru automatic and EJ25 into the T2s. Plenty of info out there on the T3s, but one of the major things is there's no off-the-shelf engine mounts you can get. Obviously the old bar used to go here, can't use that. This area and there is where the ones in Australia that you can get, like Volks mods and that, fit, but that is to mount an EJ motor to a VW box. And when you're mounting the automatic, it sits a lot further out from here. It sits further forward, well, from the videos I've seen in America, of 3 or 4 more inches maybe than where the EJ meets the Subaru, the Volkswagen box, sorry. So it sits a lot further out, which means engine mounts on the EJ are bring it further forward up to about this area, I believe, where it curves in, which means the one I bought that mounts to here is no good. I might have to get one made, custom made, to go to here, because it's a lot wider and a bit of a curve. But I'm going to wait until the engine's kind of dummy fitted up in here with a block and tackle or something before I decide that, because I've got to mount there, the other end of the auto. You'll probably see the cable there. It's a 12-foot marine cable. That's where my return hose goes in. I get a proper bung for that. Return line for the fuel tank, you probably see up there. I've got a Bosch fuel pump, electric fuel pump. Had to get an adapter to go from the tiny outlet of the fuel tank being only something like 5 mil or something, up to the bigger hose, which is whatever this is, 5/16, which is pretty much what all the Subaru and that use. So I've got my inlet and outlet there sorted. I've got to wire that up. I've got AGT doing the wiring, so I'm going to wait till get it back from him before I do anything else. This is some big mess. Cross member. You see it's on a bit of an angle here to suit that section there, but it's going to mount too far in the wrong spot, and as it is, the bolt holes didn't even line up on mine, so I'd have to re-drill it anyway. So front, I've got the aircon going in here, mucking around with that. That's the heater hoses come up, that's a unit and shifter. Just pops out the front there, cable goes down and under. Okay, so as you just saw, that went through some stuff there. This is the engine, just sitting outside it. So as you can see, it's a double overhead cam version. I didn't buy it for any particular reason, it was just the best donor car I found at the time. In the end, there's a lot of good parts about it, it's more powerful. I initially went with a Subaru gears chain setup, because at the time that was the only one available on the market. That's it being mounted up. As you can see, it only runs the front wheel drive part, not the rear. I ended up having troubles with this and having to switch to a different system. It was extremely loud. The chain just it just drove me insane. You'll see from the videos. Getting a much bigger, heavier one in was a bit of a pain. So got it up onto the stands there, and then slid it under on some old tin that I had there, like scratching up all the concrete, and then lifting it up from through the gap with a engine crane. I did all this by myself in my carport, so you can do it. It's not rocket science. You got to have a bit of stuff and a few tools and stuff, but it's not unachievable. So this was just trying to figure out where I'm going to sit it. Now initially I wanted it as high as possible because I want to go off-roading in this thing. Okay, update. We're starting to get there. Got the EJ20 in, trying to get it up as high as possible because this is kind of an off-road bus. So I've still got a good 30 centimeters of clearance there. In my setup, I'm still gonna use this factory exhaust, which just comes out to here. As this cross member I'm about to do, I've got the FOR EAT Subaru Auto. Yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot of test fitting. Each car will be a bit different, whatever gearbox, whatever engine, whatever cross member you use. I ended up using a cross member, just modified it slightly. So I did initially have it raised up as fairly high. I was just eyeballing it from other people's jobs, getting it sitting nice and flat. So you can see there I had to put a little spacer in, that's solid steel, on each side, about 12 mil, a plate, and I actually welded it to it and then drilled the hole right through just to sit it in that exact right spot. And that there seems nice, but I did end up dropping it slightly because I had issues with my CV joints later, which I'll go into detail later. So don't sit it up as high as possible. It may affect some things later with the 4 EAT, and if you've got a raised bus. If it's not raised, it doesn't matter. So everything goes under the back seat there. So that's the cable from the 12 foot boat cable. Ended up with that one. Okay, quick update. I think it's about the 24th of August. Motor is in. Engine mounts. I'll turn this slide on. Done down there, both sides. Ended up using I think it's about 16 mil solid piece of steel. You can see down there in the middle there's a spacer, but I actually welded it to the original one, only because the whole engine sits a lot further forward, as you can see, than a Volkswagen one does. Not as much as I thought in some videos I've seen. I think different makes and models vary. You can see with my throttle body, still don't have much room. A couple of fingers, but I'll got a few ideas for that. My return line for my fuel goes up into there. It's a special fuel line that can be submersed. Goes back, plumbed down the intake pipe. All the fuel system is now hooked up. I'm keeping the aircon because I'm going to run aircon. I've got some wiring left to do. This is a double overhead cam one, so it sits quite nicely. We wanted it high because we want to go off-road, and with this we've got a limited slip diff fitted into the automatic Subaru gearbox as well. Still got about a good foot of clearance. In this model, the exhaust is actually really good. It wraps around, I guess, the sump and sits quite nice and tight, and the outlet's just here. So they'll have a catback exhaust. All that stayed on it when I did the conversion. I need to pull it off as for the sake of maybe saving 1 inch and spending a fortune on a custom exhaust. See if I can see, so you see it sits quite nicely tucked up in there. Same, there's the sump, it's the bottom of the cross member, bottom of the gearbox, so really it can't go that much higher. And you know, I'm not a big foot, but it is about 30 centimeters to the lowest point, which is pretty good for what we want. They had backing plates on that bloody thing that was from pre-made one from Volksmods. Underneath is the auto hookup. Still trying to work out this bloody. Okay, so after that video, a few things changed anyway, but as you can see from the throttle body's quite close, but you can actually fit, I bought a eBay 90-degree bend, and it fits on there. In fact, in my end result, when I switched to Reverseroo, engine moves a little bit forward, and there's even more space. So I used a lot of the factory air pipes there for the air filter, that's why I don't throw anything out. I just cut and shut a few of them and put a pod filter on it for now, and it works fine. It's got the MAF sensor and everything all hooked up, so that worked out well. Just another note too, I forgot to mention, just under the fuel tank you do have to cut some of the metal out prior to fitting the Subaru stuff. Here's the first start. Obviously it was a bit loud. Idle wasn't set, the throttle body and all that wasn't working in that setup underneath. I tried to listen to other people on the internet, it didn't work out. So I had to change that later and use a throttle body in, sorry, not throttle body, accelerator pedal, the e-throttle or whatever, electronic throttle, fly-by-wire throttle, yeah, pedal. That's the end result there of the fitting the air filter. It's neat and tidy, and it's tucked way up under there. I'm thinking about putting a cold air feed to it as well through one of the vents. I had to trim that up. That has a 2.5 inch or 2.5 inch to a 3 inch. Bought off eBay, and I just had to trim it slight angle. So the pipes that you got coming off each side, like down here, they're just breather pipes off the top of the rocker covers. I just run it back up into, I kept this filter and it bolts straight on. That's just a charcoal canister filter, so they've just got to be vented into something. So same with this one, I've just attached it with a bit of extra hose from that side and took it up and put it into here, into the same charcoal filter. The other line that you were looking at that runs off the back over here somewhere is the brake booster. So that runs to your brake line down the back there. You see mine joining in down there somewhere. That black line comes up, goes in. I used a lot of my factory air intake and modified it and just put that there. And in the top, I bought this off eBay because it's a tight fit here. I left my original intake because I'm running a Subaru gearbox, so mine sits a bit further back. Excuse me. And I was able to buy this off eBay, and it was like a 3 inch to 2.5 inch or something. I had to cut it to fit. It's not perfect, but it does the job, and it gets that bend in, and then I can run the original MAF sensor, and that's all factory bits I just chopped up to make fit. That pipe, the one underneath just doubles back into itself. This pipe runs down to something down there. I can't quite see. I can't remember. I'll see if I got photos of it when I was out of the car, because I pulled it out of the donor car and did it all myself. So I'll have a look and see what it is. So that pipe actually ran to the second air pump. It's just an air pump thing that was on that model, nothing important. So this is the radiator shop that did a good job, but charged me like a wounded bull. This is my biggest lesson learnt here. I said I just wanted some pipes to run radiator at the front. Thought about doing it myself because I did everything else mostly myself. These guys, I said, yeah, I want it tucked away, but as you can see, they took it too far and charged me a ridiculous price. We negotiated a bit and come down, but it's a fantastic job and it works. And as you can see, it's all tucked away, super neat, but it was a crazy price. So if you can get your own, do your own radiator pipes, that's it getting finished up there. And we had a few issues at the start, teething. That noise turned out to be the fuel pump system and the fuel system, which I'll go into more detail in the fuel section coming up soon. And this is the fun part, CV joints. If you're not running a lifted bus, it's probably not so bad, but it's hard to tell in these images, but the angle in which or using the Subaru automatic gearbox sits, it makes the angle of the CVs sit quite weird, kind of front to back, not just up and down. So I actually think you need longer axles. I'm still looking into this, because what I found was, even though I had everything clocked right and everything like this, I still got this noise. Now, I tried several sets of CV joints and it was driving me insane until I figured out, you can see the angle there from front to back, but because my bus was also lifted, the combination of lift and angle front to back meant the shafts were stretched basically, so I had to change it around a bit, but I finally got it sorted. This is just starting to set up the aircon. It's about the only unit I could find that would work. Like I said, it's not pretty at the start here, but it works. I needed one that had heating and cooling, and this was only a couple $100, I think, 150 bucks or something off eBay, and it did heating and cooling, and it works. It works fantastic. I'm using the rest of the parts being the factory Subaru in the back. Oh, that's the fan for the aircon condenser. That's still the old one. As you'll see, that one was struggling once it went over 36. That's the black one on the left. It was a cheap one. I'll explain it now in this video section here. It's the generic cheaper aircon condenser that I started with, so you can see through it. The fins, I think rows, I can't remember, I think I counted only about 15 or 16 actual rows, and the fins much thinner comparatively. I mean, there's got I think I counted about triple the rows in this one. It's about 50, 60 roughly, 45, I don't know, can't remember. I'm not going to count them now. And yeah, you can see it's a lot harder to see through. I know airflow, that affects compared to that, but cooling efficiency, that's why most factory ones look like this, and there's a reason. Aftermarket generic cheap shit doesn't work. So let's see if this actually does make a big difference. Yeah, so I'm still at the point now where I've got to get it regassed and try it in the heat of summer, but it looks a lot better, more factory. This is similar to the one I got. It's not the one I realise now. It's $330. I didn't pay that. Very similar, but I made sure I got a heating and cooling one, and it only cost me about 150 bucks. Pretty sure it's a radiator, just off eBay. Came with a thermofan and shroud and that for only, I don't know, 150 bucks or something. And this is a bypass heater valve. Subarus, you must run a bypass. You can't just run the heater back or run it blocked. And this is the accelerator pedal. At first I tried this sort of one that was mounted up underneath by modifying it, which is what some other people recommended. Way more work, way harder, and didn't work. I could not get the spring, the feel for it to work. I ended up using the factory one and just made a very simple bracket just out of a Bunnings L bracket that I just bought and bent to the right shape in my vise, and a few screw holes, and it bolts on. One of the springs in the top there I ended up taking out and running a lighter screw because the pedal feel was too heavy. But in the end, a little slight bend on that thing and it works perfect once I bent the rod slightly. Okay, so I had a hell of a time getting this cover off because there's two bolts way up here, and my gearbox wouldn't drop down far enough because there was a tight fit at the other end because of the throttle body and that. I didn't have to reverse it, and the exhaust, things like that. So I ended up having to use this chock of wood and a thing to kind of force the gearbox to come down a little bit further so I could get these top two out. Glad I did. Like, it looks nice and clean. I mean, mind you, I've only done a couple hundred kilometres in it. This top part of the chain's quite taut. This bit, a bit of flex there, but I noticed I had quite a lot of whine. Oh, sorry, just under the car here on the floor. Had quite a lot of whining going on with mine, and I paid a shop to do this, professional shop, and have a look at that. I'm pretty sure if I get around there, I might even see. Now this is hitting right there and rubbing. They didn't clearance this section. Now, I asked them and I'm pissed off, and I'm very glad that I do it myself. This is why I like doing shit myself instead of paying shops, you know, hundreds of dollars to do a job. It's almost even hitting that pin. Not quite, but if it really stretched it would. So not only now do I have to take this off and replace it with the new sprocket, I've got to clearance that, which is something that they should have done before. So now I have to be very careful because I have my oil pan and that on already. I have to block everything up under the car here and try to clearance that. Anyway, yeah. Okay, this part, I finally got this out. This is the existing one. That's the rest of it there. I had a hell of a time getting a 35mm drive in there, but anyway, got it. Now this is comparing, this is the old one, this is the new one. New teeth, new design, or revised, or whatever you want to call it. But the first major difference I can see is, I'll use this here, this bit, curved edge here, none here, and you can see this one's been used for not very long, but you can see this wear already on the edges. It certainly does seem to wear on that edge, so having this might make a, I'm hoping, makes a good difference there. And the other big one from above is the curve, like this, a real curve. These were very square, they used to go down, across and up. So you can see, even though I haven't done very many kilometres, probably total 200 or 300 kilometers, if that, before this new one arrived. I can see some marks on the pulley already. See on the edge there, you can see. I'll try to get my little pointy thing, sorry, in here. So that wear already. And I think that's why they've redesigned this edge. This whole edge is different. Seems a lot smoother. Because that definitely does seem to be where the wear is on this one. Okay, so point of this part was just to show the difference in the new Subaru gears kit that they brought out. Some people have used it and seem to have some success. I found it to be very loud, as you'll see from videos that I've recorded just to show, but it's just my personal opinion, my own experience I should say, not even opinion. This is just what happened, and I'm just explaining my process I went through to end up where I've ended up. So yeah, this is the chain system, the new one. Okay, new Subaru gears drive on. New pulleys and chain. Clearance that section like it should have been in the first place. Sorry, I'm under the car. It's a bit hard. But now too, I've noticed not much slack in this chain. The other one was already quite loose. This one, oops, sorry, that's me moving that chain. That's got all movement in it. So yeah, hopefully it works. It will stretch slightly, I guess, but fingers crossed. Yeah, so using the chain system, you obviously got a bit of metal on metal grinding there. So little tiny flakes were coming off, you could see, in the oil. Jumping onto this is just a transcooler. I originally just had one of these bar heatsink style ones. Just didn't cut it. You really do need a little fan, little radiator style. So I decided to run both. I run them in line with each other. I run it through one and then the other. So it's yeah, it's not going to do any harm. I also run a thermo switch, so the fan only comes on when it hits about 190. This is driving it. EJ20 Kombi, Subaru gears, automatic. Okay, so it's inside the case. I just took it off. You can see all that black starting to run down there. It was sitting, that's the bottom. So there's definitely some metal or something there. Here is the upgraded Subaru gears kit that I had. The latest version, the newest one. First thing I noticed is this. Oh, first thing is quite a lot of slack in that, which is supposed to not happen. You'll notice up here too, look at that. It's scraped away the casing. That's not a spot you're told to you have to clear it. You have to clean it down here, which I have, and that's been okay. And I noticed up over here too. Oh, get the phone. Sorry. Try to get in there. Just up in here. a lot of scrapes along there where it's hitting this side. Look at that, and the outside. It's almost on this side. I'm sure it's hitting this rod, making a lot of noise. Listen to it. So I had to bite the bullet. I switched to Reverseroo, and I haven't looked back. As soon as I put it in, it's whisper quiet. No whining, no nothing. Very different kit. Worth it, a little bit dearer though. And so here it is, what I've been waiting for. So this kit allows the Subaru 4EAT automatic transmission to run in reverse. They go into the transmission to mount to micro shafts, bolts. This is the main shaft. This is the patented center cog, I suppose, and just the mounts and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll do some videos as we put it together. Okay, so I'm just under the car here, so I've replaced the Subaru gears with Reverseroo. The Subaru gears just wasn't working for me. It was very loud and whining and yeah, a few issues, so I ended up going Reverseroo. So this is what $4,000 looks like. This is the new kit. I think I might be the first in Australia. I'm actually helping test it. That centre bearing, the one with the yellow line there, sorry, the centre sprocket thing, transfer plate or whatever they call it, that is the new part. It's got a much bigger bearing in it, as you can see it goes almost all the way around to the edge. So I'm at the point now where I'm about to put this nut on here. I've just tightened it up and set the backlash. Yeah, so it's easy to install. As you can see, it's hanging just under my car. Didn't have to drop the whole gearbox back out. I just had to undo the rear mount and lower that end down, and I was able to switch it in and out between the old system and the new. Really easy to do. Phil Hocken, who does Reverseroo, was fantastic. Just helped me out with everything. Whatever questions you got. Clearance is the big thing. You got to make sure you got clearance up the top there. So yeah, there's a trick to that I'll mention in a moment. So trying to just show the clearance up there on the Reverseroo. So it's tight, but there's enough gap there, especially because it'll probably drop down slightly when I mount it. I noticed that the mount sits a bit lower from the back there, and I don't have it yet. It was just a bit of an oversight. It's it didn't get packed in the kit. So yeah, it's in. I had a Subaru gears, and now just changed to Reverseroo. Hopefully no more noise. Okay, so what I've figured out or looked at here is, because I had a previous Subaru gears chain system and had to cut this bit out here, I've later found out that this part here is actually like the sump, the reserve well for this gear to spin and flick up. It's a splash bath apparently. So by cutting that down, you're reducing the oil level massively by about an inch there. Wouldn't be so bad with the Subaru gears or the original system, because their pulleys are much bigger and go all the way around here. But Reverseroo, much smaller gears, because there's 3 instead of 2. So this bit here is not sitting in much of the lubricant, the trans oil, and splashing up and oiling these, and these are the bearings that were failing. So this level, when I put a little rule across it, I mean, I'll try to hold it just there, but you can see for yourself, if that goes across their level, it's barely touching the bottom. So if my trans fluid level's only sitting here, it's not getting much lubrication up there. However, if it's sitting up in the original spot up here, it's almost halfway, and there's getting plenty of lubrication around that to pull up. So that was the problem, and I thought about trying to extend this up somehow, rebuilding this, JB weld something, but I didn't want anything coming loose. So I realised I've got 2 bolts here, and I need to build this bit back up. So eventually I have to rack my brain. I'll come up with this. It was originally a little piece of T-piece aluminium, cut to fit, and it slots in there. Now each person or each kit would have to be done differently because everyone has cut a different amount out of here, but I'll show once I bolt it up. I've been test fitting and it fits a pretty nice seal there, and as you can see it builds it back up, sorry about this, up to a nice level. And you know, if it's quite a good seal once I get it in there in the correct spot. I'm trying to film and do this one-handed, so I might just bend that slightly. I'm trying to get a really nice tight fit there and at the back, and it seals up quite well, and that bolt will hold it in place, so it's not going anywhere, it's not hitting anything. And with that simple little thing there, it builds this back up. Now I will fine tune it, tidy this up a bit more. This is the very first rough kind of version I've done of it, but it's going to work, I think, and definitely raise that fluid level up. That's it in place at the end there, and it seems to be doing fine, showing the different levels. Now my other little trick I mentioned before about getting clearance at the top, if you've got your gearbox out and you're doing it for the first time, just make sure you clearance that lip up the top they tell you to. But unfortunately I wasn't, my gearbox was already in. So what I did, I just jacked the gearbox up and actually used the top of the gearbox to push the last little bit of lip up to give it about a centimetre clearance so it doesn't vibrate on the bus. But it does the job. Okay, the fuel pump used is a Volkswagen T3 Kombi one, a Bosch one, only cheap, about $100. It's got a big outlet at one end though, so I had to use a brass reducer from the tiny outlet of the Kombi tank. There's no swirl pot or anything, it doesn't need it because the outlet's at the bottom of the tank. And then with the with Subarus, they have a deadhead system on this one, not a return line, so I had to wire it up differently. You'll see in the next video. Some Subarus have 3 hose outlets, this one only had 2. It took me a little while to figure that out, so that's what that weird noise was when we first started it back at the radiator shop. It was actually the fuel pump over pressurizing. So I had to fit this fuel pressure regulator, and this part will explain what happens there. Okay, quick video here. So yeah, inlet coming from, it's up here, goes in this side, outlet this side, it comes with this hose, and I've just looped it around, gone into the top here. Bottom one, I don't even have anything hooked on it at the moment, it's just for vapor, I'll just leave it for now. And the bottom one is a return line, that won't be under high pressure, so I've just used normal hose and I've gone back into my tank with that one. I've just used normal hose for this, and up to here it's good for 50 psi. This only runs at 42 and then it vents back. Okay, Kombi doing a heater tap. Subaru have a bypass heater system, so originally I just had a simple heater tap to run this aircon slash heating unit. It does both. That's going to get tucked further in, I'm not finished, but anyway, apparently though, it's best for the engine if the water keeps recirculating back with Subaru, so just shutting it off wasn't doing anything. And what I was finding was I was still getting a lot of heat coming through here. This was getting really hot, and when I put the fan on it would blow hot air constantly. So the heater, I don't know, there's something like the water just stayed warm. So what I'm doing is ended up having to buy this contraption of a bypass thing. It's got 4 outlets. I'm in the process of fitting it up now. Oh, there you go. And a valve. So it basically means that the water keeps recirculating through. A bit like this, it's a dodgy thing. It comes out of the engine, goes into this tap, and that's where the valve is. When that's shut, it shuts off the water going here and bypasses it back around, back to the engine without, you know, causing any weird overheating or pressure issues. So it's constantly running back into the engine, but then when you open the valve, allows it to come through this way and bypasses it up through the heater core, and then it comes back down in there. Now I'm going to put this other tap just in place here because I'm finding that you get a bit of heat sink, and I'm trying to put it as far away as I can from the heater unit, because I notice that when this valve is shut, it allows the water to flow up here and back through there, and it blocks it off here. But if you have it open, when it's coming up and around and back down, this is also still open for some reason. There's no other valve there, so water can go up and around, and the least pressure, it's going to go back that way, but you're going to get a little bit of heat sink coming up through this tube, and it might heat it up again. So because I have this tap, I'm just going to put it here too. Just means I'll have 2 different, it's just an option. If it works without it, I'll just leave it there and it can just flow straight through, leave it open. But if I find I'm still having heat sink issues up here, if I shut this one off at the same time as this one, especially in summer, I can just shut it down. The water will have no other direction other than to go that way, and there will be no heated water getting into the thing. So that's what I'm doing now. Test drive in the Kombi. Temps, vitals looking good. Aircon's running, so it's quite noisy. Freezing cold aircon. The heater taps seem to be doing their job. They're off. Just sitting at idle for a bit, let it heat soak a bit, see what it's like. Then I'm going to do a quick run in 100k zone for a while, see how that goes, all whilst running the aircon. Today's a little bit cooler than it has been. It's been mid-30s today, so I think high 20s. So decent temp to test it in, but not the best. And really, unless that temp goes up over, say, 105, 110, not really worried. Most of the time it goes to about 90, between 86 and 96. I think the fans don't even kick on till like 94 or 5 or something. So fingers crossed, we'll see how we go. With the aircon, you could just leave it as it is and have it all blow cold air, freezing cold air onto the passenger, but I wanted to try to vent it to have a demister and each side and up the middle. So I found this tubing, 51mm clear flexible tubing, to do the job. Now it looks messy at the start, but the end result come out okay for me. As you can see, I've had to run the tubes down and under. It's gone to different areas. I've changed it since, but it's all covered up now. We covered it up with the normal board down the kickboard, and then I've made this little metal fold over it, and I've since painted it black. You'll see at the end of the video, and it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't stand out that bad. There's still plenty of legroom for the person, but if you want to go back to just having open vents there blowing straight on you, you can do that and buy little swivel vents. But as I said before, my car, my rules. Okay, and this is the end result. It's all mod plated. Been driving around a little bit, testing it. Did about 100k, 1 hour long sort of trip. A bit of running around the other day, and just drove perfect. So a few teething things I'll run through, so that might help others out. Your burping of the cooling system. If you're running a belly mount, you'll have to look that up. People have covered that a lot. You will need a high point somewhere in here. Usually they have your filler bottle, reservoir bottle somewhere high. That helps. in mine I have this spot here, but I have a front mounted radiator, so mine bleeds easily. But what I did find is that I had to give it a few really good runs, like putting my foot down to really push that water from the water pump through to get these bubbles out from the system, because I've got a few high spots here. I am planning on cutting this, and I have a joiner that has a 1/8 MPT thing, so that'll be able to bleed out, but I'm also going to use it as an extra water temp gauge. I might run a cold air intake on that later, or just from down there or something like that. But everything else is running right. Got it regassed, the aircon, it's nice and cold. I'll quickly show underneath here a few things. So heaps of access for spark plugs and that's fine. I've just got a second fuel filter there. The fuel pump's just mounted up there. Lots of wiring everywhere. Obviously you pay someone to do it, they'll probably do it a lot neater than me, but that's the transcooler lines. I just run the transcooler lines out there. They run down to here, and I am running, if I can point to them, right, there's a little one there, one of those heatsink ones, and there's a fan operated one there. I've put a thermo switch on that for 190 or 195 Fahrenheit to come on and back off at 175, I think, and it's only kicked on twice in the times I've driven it, and that was big drives, 100k an hour zones, things like that, for quite a while, and then in some traffic. So pretty happy with that. I am going to run a 10% temperature gauge on the trans as well, just to monitor things. Excuse my dodgy little skid plate there, it's just a bit of stainless steel I had sitting around, and I wanted to put something under it because we may go up sand, up some drives, and you can see unfortunately now it does sit lower than I wanted for us to go off-road. It might not be the best option for off-roading, because I'll show you this. You can see how much it sits down. It's probably a good 6 inches, well, yeah, at least, let's say. So it does sit lower, as you can see. So knowing that now, I probably would have done a belly mount radiator. I did the front mount because I wanted clearance, but the fact that this Subaru sits so low, there's not much I can do about it now. Teething issues, the speedboat cable, it works, but as you can see, it's not pretty. Unfortunately, the main issue with it is it's a multi-sleeve kind of thing. It's got like the actual rod, and then it's got this other metal sleeve, and then the plastic sheath, and it just moves. It's very sensitive, the shifter, to within a few millimeters. So what I was finding is this wouldn't come back far enough to go in the park to start the car, because the little rod would slide, and so I've tried all different things, including up here. You can see just up there, sorry about the camera work, up that bit, just to hold it really tightly in place, and I even had to do a bit of araldite and stuff just to stop the sliding of the outer sheath, because I really couldn't screw it on anywhere else yet. I have to come up with a different solution, although it is working for now. Or the other option is Phil Hocken and that do a shifter kit, a push button one with a solenoid there. That'll make life a lot easier. But because this is a sports shift one, I wanted to have it so I could select gears, but I think he's made one like that now. So yeah, so that's one little teething issue. Not much else. I'll show you in the front. I've just been, so the shifter sits in there, this is the cover. I'm just going to tidy this up, seal around here. That's just all part of that. Now the aircon, so that's sort of the end result. This part here doesn't look as big and nasty. I mean, my whole car's a bit it's a bit how you're going, so I don't really care about having that little lump there. Doesn't sit out as far as you think. As you can see, wouldn't even hit the sort of back of the steering wheel, but it does allow, like, if you don't like that and you want to run that aircon like I did, just put vents in it and blast it out of you, and this person will get really cold. The driver will get overheated, but whatever. So I've got it coming out here, this vent, the other vent, a demister up there, and I even ran another tube all the way down through and up to here like a little periscope. And yeah, the purists are probably rolling in their graves right now, but I really don't give a shit. So that can turn, it's like on a swivel, so I can just turn it. So when the kids are in, it's just PVC. So when the kids are in the back, which I've got a heap of crap in the back of my car at the moment, it can blow cool air into them and help them out in summer. And when they're not, and it's just me in the car, well, I'll get extra cold air onto me in the driver's seat. So it works really well. Ain't pretty, but it works. This is a OBD2 port thing, cheap one off eBay. I don't even know how much it was, 50 bucks or something, I don't know, cheap. Plug straight into your OBD2 port, gives you RPM and temperature and a bunch of other stuff. It's fantastic. So no need to worry about, I've run all the other original gauges. Yeah, I haven't hooked up an engine light or alternator light, but I can monitor a lot of stuff from here, almost everything except for oil pressure. But yeah, that's the only thing I can't monitor yet. Quickly around the other side, I'll just show you what I ended up doing with the throttle. I haven't finished these kick panels off yet. I just had to quickly dodge something up. So that, you can see I still got the shavings here, so it's far from finished. I just quickly chopped this out so I could fit it in. Sure, you can make up something neater to cover it up, make it look nice, but the pedal sits quite good. I just had to bend the rod slightly. So this is the factory pedal. You see I changed the spring, a lighter one, and one of the stock ones, and it just gives nice feel. It goes right down nicely to the ground. All I did was to help my heel feel a bit better, I've got some of this here and I've chopped it out down there so it can go right down to the floor, but it sits my heel just nicely and it's not far off the ground, as you can see, and it works. So simple solution. Yeah, does the job. And the front mount, that's kind of how it's ended up looking. The radiator, the aircon, I ended up running, don't know if you can see it, there's another fan in there, and that's for pushing the air through the aircon, which is sitting in front. There you go, you can see it just there. And then a little expansion tank here. Had to drill a hole in it to depressurize it, otherwise it was the wrong style for this car. Just all your aircon gear there, and it runs down. We've wrapped some tape, make it look a bit ratty. Yeah, so that's it pretty much. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's mine, and I love it. It suits us, and yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other questions and that people will have, but I hope that the video, I'm sorry about the length of the video, I'm sorry there's so much info, but I wanted to try and put it all in one just to help everyone as a resource, just to show my journey with it. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with any company or anything like that. I had experience with a few companies doing this. Some were good, some were not so good, and yeah, but if you want any more info or questions, just comment or let me know, or send me a message or something, and I'll help you out if I can. As I said, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but guys, just do what you want. One big takeaway from this though is, when you're doing it, get a donor car. Don't just buy an engine. It makes life really hard doing it when you got to buy all the bits and pieces. My expenses blew out a bit on the radiator piping, because as I discussed before, but the rest of it, like that whole car, only cost me $700, and I had all the bits I needed. The other parts, when you add it all up, I reckon I could do this in Australia again if I was doing it myself for probably 10 grand. And if you pay someone else to do it, as you know, it'll be 20 or more. But it depends on which way you want to go. Like if you don't want to run a automatic Subaru gearbox, your prices will be much lower. Plus I'm running a limited slip diff in mine, so that cost extra. Not just for the cost of it, but the fitting of it. I had to get the shop to put that in. So yeah, anyway, yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry again about the length, and yeah, fire away if you've got any questions. Hope it helps you.